right, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Brothers Sportscast. I'm happy to say that I am feeling better and have been able to set up my mic and everything, and so the audio should be a lot better. However, I am not doing anything with video right now because things are still kind of crazy, a little bit busy. Fortunately, my family member is no longer in the hospital. They are in a rehab facility, so I'm actually going to be heading there after I get this recording done for this week. But I am glad to be able to get the audio much better quality here. So, talking back about this past weekend's game against Oregon, outcome pretty much what people expected. I do want to say that I was more impressed by the performance by the players in this one. It was a tall task for them, and they really kind of kept it within reach for 3 quarters there. They were keeping things kind of in play, and it seems like they were just a few steps away from, closing that gap with the score, but they just weren't able to get there. More of the frustration and confusion for me, and I noticed I was not the only one voicing this opinion, was on the coaching staff, whether it was horrible defensive calls, not catching mistakes that would have prevented penalties, or just terrible offensive calls too. It was just a mess. This coaching staff is not setting up these players for success, whether it's in preparation or just game plan. So that was the unfortunate situation. Not at all to say that if they were doing those things correctly, that Michigan would have won this game, but it would have definitely been a closer game. So, unfortunately, it's another loss for Michigan, and now we need to see where things go from here. Davis Warren played another good game. Again, not things that we've seen in the past few seasons where McCarthy could create things from nothing, or when plays break down, still make something happen. Davis Warren, when presented with something, has been making good decisions and not been turnover prone as he was earlier in the year. So that has been great to see. And honestly, I'm not super bothered by mixing in Alex Orji. I've talked about that previously. Obviously, there are some times where it makes more sense than other times, especially when you get closer to the end zone. But they seem to have been performing well. Of course, fantastic job by Colston Loveland. The thing that just really honestly kind of blows my mind is how ineffective the running game has been. Whether Donovan Edwards or Mullings, with the success and everything that they were able to do against teams earlier in the year, like USC and others, I just am kind of dumbfounded that there has not been more work, more effort that way, I guess. I don't know. I mean, they had 28 carries on the game, and they had 25 pass attempts. That I'd have to go back in the numbers and see exactly, but I don't know. It just doesn't, it seems like they keep changing the game plan, and you would think that they would just try to find their groove and try to find their place and stick with it. And they had a decent thing going with the running game, but then the passing game collapsed and the running game wasn't able to bear the entire weight load of the offense. Now they have a passing game that is more capable, but then they're almost like abandoning the run. It feels like sometimes. I don't know. I must confess, I don't have numbers and stats really to dive into it and do a breakdown of how things progress through the season, but just kind of interesting how things have gone. So like I said, kind of going back to the beginning of this discussion, kudos to the players. Congratulations to them on their effort and everything. They were not quitting. And it gives a little bit of a spark of hope that they can still compete with some of these other teams. They have Indiana, Northwestern, and Ohio State remaining on the schedule. And not at all saying that by what I'm about to say is that those are wins. But let's face it, a couple weeks ago, it was very much, I don't, it's going to be questionable if they even beat Northwestern. But with the way that this team has performed for the past 2 weeks, again, they are also home games. I do believe that they are going to have an opportunity to compete and stick with Indiana potentially. Potentially is Indiana is a very explosive team, so it's tough to say they're riding a lot of momentum, being undefeated right now. And I am doing this early enough in the day that I have not seen a new AP poll released on what they are being going to be ranked, but more than likely is going to be a top 10 Indiana team that Michigan is going to be going on the road to face. So it's a tall ask for Michigan to go on the road to beat top 10 Indiana, come home and play Northwestern. That seems pretty decent, but then go on the road to face top 10 Ohio State. So a lot to unpack there. But first things first, Indiana. If you had asked me several weeks ago if Michigan had a shot to beat Indiana, I would have said no. Like there's nothing going the right direction for Michigan for them to feel like they could beat Indiana. Now with the team's performance in the last 2 weeks, even though one of those games was a loss, I think that if they play well, if they continue to find success in not having turnovers, not have a lot of penalties, and that the passing game has some breath of life to it, that they could keep it a game through 3 quarters and then see how things shake down in the fourth quarter. It's possible. I'm not going in with a lot of confidence, and I'm probably by the end of this, when I give my score prediction, I'm not probably going to give them anything, really give them a prediction of winning, but a lot better chance, because this is a Indiana team that is averaging a lot of points. And as we have discussed with Michigan football, is that whenever a team scores over 30 points, I think the last time Michigan beat a team straight up when they scored 30 points was back in like 2012, maybe. Like it was a long time ago. Michigan is not known for beating teams when they allow them to score a lot of points. Yeah, Indiana is averaging over 46 points a game and holding their opponents to under 14 points on average per game. That's what they're going up against. That is what Michigan is facing off with Indiana. That is crazy to think that is what Indiana is doing. Now, granted, they have not faced a ranked opponent, and the only ranked opponent that they are going to be facing is going to be the week after Michigan in the Ohio State game. So potentially they could, this could be a little bit of a trap game for them as they're focusing on Michigan. Will be kind of interesting to see how they play, but they have gone into each of these games and just really dominated. I mean, even though Michigan State, who played them yesterday, got out to 10-0 lead, Indiana then came out and scored 47 unanswered points. So, I mean, Indiana is right there looking at an opportunity to play in the Big Ten championship game, which is mind-blowing. But going back to what I already said, Michigan feeling pretty good that they have an opportunity to at least compete in this game. The game is going to be at 3:30. Again, is on the road against Indiana. If the team that has played the past 2 weeks shows up, give them a chance. Again, I think one of the biggest elements about this that is not boding well for Michigan is that it is a road game. Michigan on the road has not been performing well. Granted, Davis Warren has not played a road game because Washington was Orgy and then Tuttle, and then Illinois was Tuttle leading the team. So maybe things will be a little bit different with Davis Warren. It's hard to say. But I don't think anybody who's been paying attention at all to the college football landscape is going to think that there is anything easy about this upcoming weekend. So, kind of without further ado, just score predictions and everything. I do believe that Michigan is going to wind up falling short to Indiana. I do think that it's going to be a little bit closer and everything. I think it's going to be Indiana 34, Michigan 24. Again, in all these situations, more than happy to be proven wrong. But as this season has gone and as we have watched things play out, is just not looking good for Michigan. And honestly, I'm trying to look at it even here with that score prediction. There were only 2 games this season for Indiana that they have scored less than 34 points. Only 2 games. So even that, like, I'm giving Michigan a little bit of a benefit of a doubt there. So 34-24, would love to see some things change, mostly on the coaching side, that they kind of bring things down and they set these players up for success. Because these last 3 games is not out of the question that Michigan could win any one of them if the coaching staff sets them up for success. So time will tell. Again, thanks everybody for sticking with me through this and everything. Like I said, I know there's no video component for these past couple of episodes and everything. I do plan on bringing it back eventually, but I hope you all have a fantastic week. Hoping for improvement for the Michigan Wolverines as they head out back on the road. And, you know, we'll all get together, watch the game, and see how things turn out at 3:30 on Saturday for the game airing on CBS. But until then, as always, go blue.